The Classic Championship is at stake, and I visit with Jim Carnett today on SICW Wrestling Explosion. Hello, this is Larry Matisick. Travis Cook, the champ's manager, is handcuffed to none other than Big Daddy when title holder Ken Kasa faces Gary Jackson with the crown up for grabs. Plus, I'm looking forward to chatting with Jim Carnett, one of wrestling's most colorful characters. For icing on the cake, a classic St. Louis moment features Kerry Von Eric. Following these messages, the classic title is on the line. Big Daddy handcuffed to Travis Cook. Look at that. Big Daddy pulling Travis Cook around outside the ring while Ken Kasa and Gary Jackson battle for the classic wrestling title. Gary Jackson taking Kasa down. You can just imagine that Travis Cook is just really thrilled about being stuck to Big Daddy, one of the most controversial characters in the entire St. Louis area for a long time. Gary Jackson trips Ken Kasa going for that Texas cloverleaf, but it's early, and Kasa slides to the ropes. Of course, why are they handcuffed together? Remember, Travis Cook's been involved in a lot of Kasa's matches, causing a lot of trouble at different times. And when Gary Jackson wrestled Kasa, and it looked like Gary had a possible victory with that Texas cloverleaf, Travis jumped into the ring, caused his man to be disqualified, thus keeping the classic wrestling title on Ken Kasa. Well, it was just too much for promoter Herb Simmons to put up with. He needed somebody to handcuff Travis Cook to. Who better than Big Daddy? Every dirty trick that Travis Cook could pull, Big Daddy has already pulled in wrestling. If there's a dirty trick, if there's something nasty to do, believe me, Big Daddy done it. Knee drop into the chest by Ken Kasa on Gary Jackson. And now I'm not quite sure Big Daddy he's almost yelling for Gary Jackson. I don't know that he's necessarily for Gary Jackson, but he's probably for anybody that isn't involved with Travis Cook. I don't think he likes Travis Cook too much. Gary with a kick to the knee of the champion. Ken Kasa, 1 year as champion. 1 year as a classic wrestling champion since he defeated Ricky Cruz and won the title. Let me tell you something. Kasa is a good wrestler. He's proven himself to be a good champion. Big Daddy talking to the fans. He's saying, I'll make him sit down, don't worry. Flying mare by Kasa. Knocking Kasa off the throne is not going to be easy, especially with Travis Cook calling the shots from outside the ring. Ooh, Kasa feeling that knee. Remember when Gary Jackson caught the kick into the knee earlier? Well, Kasa landed that double knee jolt to the back, and that bothered Kasa a little bit more than he expected. Now he hooks the head. Kasa moving around, using that long, lean body to get to the bottom rope. And then Big Daddy says, get that foot off the bottom rope. Travis Cook says, he can't do that. Put his foot back up there. And Big Daddy says, no, I'm going to take his foot off. Big Daddy and Travis Cook arguing about whether the foot should be on the ropes or not. Kasa says, would you guys cut it out? You're interfering with my match. Big Daddy, Travis Cook, causing trouble. Ken Kasa complaining about it. Back cradle by Gary Jackson. Kasa certainly thrown all off guard by what's going on. Backslide by Gary Jackson, count of two. Whoa, Kasa could be in danger if he doesn't watch out. Front rolling cradle, small package by two, and once more Kasa kicks out. The problems that Big Daddy was creating with Travis Cook at ringside got Ken Kasa into trouble. Gary Jackson kept his concentration on the match. Kasa got flustered because of what was going on outside between Big Daddy and Travis Cook. Once more Travis starts talking to Ken Kasa. Big Daddy says, stop it. Big Daddy, what a character. The Giant Assassin was the man he managed for the longest time, but I can remember a few times in that ring when Big Daddy crossed paths with King Kong Brody, and Daddy wasn't too happy about those moments. But nonetheless, I think right now, looking back on it all, he has a lot of respect for people like Brody, a lot of respect for the history of wrestling, and a lot of respect for somebody like Gary Jackson. So when Herb Simmons asked for help, Big Daddy was happy to do it. He's back from the era of Ron Powers, of Gary Jackson. Actually, I'm hearing some rumors floating around that Big Daddy's kind of been scouting around, thinking about maybe getting his hand back in this a little bit. Who knows? Anything's possible. Oh, Gary Jackson was going to try that giant splash, and Ken Kasa brought the knees up right into the midsection of Gary Jackson. Night Train Gary Jackson. Now being stepped on by Kasa. Kasa trying to punish Gary Jackson. Some of the crowd yelling, Gary, Gary, Gary. Big Daddy, Travis Cook, they've had a non-stop argument since they got handcuffed together. I don't think marriage is in their future. They're still arguing. Kasa brings Jackson up. Where's he going? One-arm backbreaker or side suplex? Side suplex by Ken Kasa on Gary Jackson. He leans back across Gary to try for a pin. Look out. Whoa. Both arms hooked by Ken Kasa. Good thing he was close to those ropes. And he got his feet on the ropes to break up the count at 2. Kasa does a lot of different things, a lot of different moves that you don't see most wrestlers do. That's why he's been a very, very difficult champion to remove from the throne. But Gary Jackson, he comes up with a lot of moves too, and that being one of them. He nearly caught Ken Kasa, and he's nearly done it a couple of times in this match. Gary Jackson has been coming so close to becoming the classic wrestling champion. And a lot of fans in that ring would love to see it. A lot of fans in that packed building, that jam-packed, sold-out capacity crowd would love to see Gary Jackson win the classic title. He's earned it. He's paid his dues. Club, big double-arm club by Ken Kasa. It's like a baseball shot, he says. See, a home run. I hit a home run on Gary Jackson. And then he rakes his boot across the forehead of Jackson. The argument continues between Travis Cook and Big Daddy. Nerve clamp by Ken Kasa on Gary Jackson. Kasa, well knowing that you got to wear down your opponent. Travis Cook now is starting to yell, Kasa, Kasa, Kasa. And Big Daddy has the rest of the crowd, most of the crowd, going, Gary, Gary, Gary. Big Daddy should be a cheerleader, huh, you think? See many cheerleaders dressed that way? I'd like to know if he's going to get himself involved back in the wrestling business for a little bit. He's a thinker. You never know what Big Daddy's up to. Of course, you never know what Travis Cook's up to. What a pair. Thank goodness they weren't both in their primes at exactly the same time. But again, I shouldn't say not in their prime, because all I'm going to do is make Big Daddy angry, and then he will bring somebody back. And who knows what. If he's anybody like the Giant Assassin, well, that means it's trouble. Ken Kasa lifts Gary Jackson, one-arm backbreaker on Jackson by Ken Kasa. The champion covers Jackson. Count of 1, 2, and Gary Jackson busts free. Gary Jackson hanging in there. Each man has had his opportunities. Neither man has been able to cash in all the way. Backdrop, no. Reverse neck breaker. Gary Jackson put on the brakes, caught Kasa with a reverse neck breaker. Gary winds up that elbow, drives the elbow into the chest of Ken Kasa, the Iron Man, feeling the wrath of, whoa, look at that, Travis Cook reaching in to trip Gary Jackson, and now Big Daddy really is having a fit. Don't do that. Keep your hands off of him. Ken Kasa wasn't able to follow up as much as he might have been if it hadn't been for Big Daddy kind of messing with Travis Cook. And look at that. Big Daddy grabs Ken Kasa. Two can play that game. Now Cook, look at this. Big Daddy's strangling. Big Daddy using the handcuffs to strangle Travis Cook. Big Daddy strangling Travis Cook. Reverse rolling cradle by Jackson. Oh, Kasa rolls underneath, gets the balance. Oh, they can't get the balance. Kasa tried to get up on top. Gary squirmed away. Great use of balance by Gary Jackson when the reverse rolling cradle was reversed. And then, hey, the inside cradle. The inside cradle by the champion, Ken Kasa. Gary Jackson went for the Texas Cloverleaf, but Ken Kasa used the inside cradle, the very hold that Terry Funk used to win the World Heavyweight Championship from Jack Briscoe many, many years ago. And he's able to survive, and he has the championship. All the while, Big Daddy was strangling Travis Cook. Big Daddy still has those handcuffs. He says, don't get close to me. He says, I'll pop you with that handcuff. And here comes Gary Jackson outside the ring behind Ken Kasa. Oh, Gary Jackson outside pounding on Ken Kasa. Travis Cook says, I got the belt. I think I'm going to leave. But Gary Jackson and Ken Kasa are still battling outside the ring. Kasa was the winner. He's the champion, but right now he's taking some lumps from Gary Jackson. Well, now that was something different, and let's face it, some really quick wrestling there at the end. First, the reverse rolling cradle. The reverse rolling cradle then reversed one more time by Ken Kasa. Gary Jackson squirmed out from underneath. Gary goes for the Texas Cloverleaf, then the inside cradle by Ken Kasa. Two good wrestlers. That's why they battled for the championship today. Now, if we look way back in time, if we look back to when I had a lot of hair and it was long, and we look back to when my guest was like 14 years old, 15 years old.
Probably.
And Jim Carnett was going to the Wrestling Fans International Association meeting in St. Louis, Missouri. Jim, can you remember coming to St. Louis, Missouri?
Oh, but the WFIA, the Wrestling Fans International Association, back in the late 70s, every year they had the convention. It was the place to be, Larry, and made St. Louis. They also had conventions in Memphis and Atlanta and Knoxville, and I was right there along with all the other aspiring wannabes. And fortunately, I wanted to be, and I did be, if that's proper English.
Well, that is, and it's kind of interesting too, because I know we've talked about it before too. You also are one of the early tape traders, and I didn't realize that you probably did see some of the Wrestling at the Chase stuff that I did when I had hair.
Oh, you know, exactly. As a matter of fact, I bought my first VCR in 1979 specifically for wrestling. Not only, I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and not only did I get up on top of my house and actually put a 10-foot mast, the biggest consumer antenna that money could buy in those days before cable, and a rotor so I could turn it 360 degrees. I could get Dick the Bruiser show from Indianapolis. I could get, obviously, the Louisville Wrestling show that was coming out of Memphis. I could get the Paphos ICW out of Lexington, Nick Goulas from Bowling Green, Kentucky, the Sheik from Cincinnati. And every once in a while, after our Channel 3 went off the air and the Channel 3 from Springfield, Missouri came in, I could get Leroy McGurk's Tri-State Wrestling.
Red McKim.
I couldn't get St. Louis, though, so I had to buy that VCR so I could trade the tapes.
Well, I appreciate you watching all these years. When you're going back to that age, and let me tell you, I started out writing for a magazine. So that's exactly how I started out writing for Ring Magazine. I really never thought that I'd be involved in wrestling to the extent that I eventually was. Did you ever really think, when you were a kid, that you would get involved in wrestling to the extent that you have been?
No, actually not to any extent first, and then we started the same way because I started sending the Louisville wrestling results in to Bill Apter's magazines like The Wrestler and Inside Wrestling. Yep. This was before Pro Wrestling Illustrated, right. And started working with Norman Keatzer and the Wrestling News, Jim Melby. And by the time I was 14, I was doing pictures at ringside and writing magazine articles, writing the program, fill-in ring announcer, all around Gopher, go for this, go for that.
Yeah, same thing here.
And then finally I hung around long enough, they said, well, we can't get rid of him, so let's put him in the business.
And that's basically what happened to me, I think, too. And
we're classic hangers-on. We define the term hanger-on.
And we also know this: it's a disease. Yeah. Once you have it, you're in it. You're hooked forever. Even when you get mad at it, and I know I certainly had my moments back in the 1983-84, the battles with Vince McMahon and the fights we had in St. Louis, and I was a lot of time I was bitter, and I thought, I'm going to walk away. I never want to do this again. And I thought that again in the early 90s. And then some goofball named Herb Simmons comes up and says, oh, no, come on and help me do these things. Help me do these things.
I met Herb Simmons. He's a mayor of a real small town. As a matter of fact, the town is so small, I checked in the hotel, they stole my towels. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, man. Yeah. He's also had a 911, so if you have an emergency.
Well, if you have an emergency, good luck, because Herb's probably at a wrestling match.
Well, that's probably true. Well, he got me involved, and next thing I know, I'm writing books and the whole thing. And I'm hooked again, and my wife sits back there and shakes her head. I knew it. You can't stay away. And it's the same thing. Here we are again doing it once more. And you've been angry because I know you've had some great moments in wrestling. You've had some terrific moments in the office where your brain, your imagination, and I know because I've been involved in the booking thing too, they use you, and then they say goodbye.
Well, the thing is, a lot of times I say goodbye first because I get mad, but I can't help it because, like you said, the wrestling disease. You always want to be out there. You always want to hear the roar of the crowd, smell the popcorn, and hear that ring pounding. And you enjoy, if you're like me, and I know you are, you enjoy seeing young talent get a chance to prosper.
Yes.
And, I've been lucky to have a hand in a lot of the young talent over the past 15 or 20 years. You've had hand in young talent over the last 50 years being developed.
Oh, hurt me.
And, I'm sorry. Well, you started when you were 3.
Well, just
and, the thing is that wrestling these days, it's a unique American art form. And I think now so much of the national television, so much of the internet, and so much of the exposure has sort of let the trade secrets out of the bag. And it's not as easy to elicit that emotional response from the fans as it once was. But these are great. They're tremendous athletes. Anybody that gets in a wrestling ring is a premier athlete. And I've trained guys that have won the NCAA heavyweight championship in wrestling. I've had trained former pro football players, American gladiators. Any athlete you care to name, guys that went on to great success in MMA, and they will, down to the man, they'll say that their pro wrestling training was the most physically demanding, was the most athletically challenging training that they've ever been involved in. And I think that's a tribute to what these guys do every night. And it's, you know, it's just a shame that many more of the fans don't appreciate the effort and the talent that really goes into it, because they see what's on television and they think, oh, that looks easy. I guarantee you, folks, it looks easy, but that's because these guys are the best in the world at what they do.
And the other thing, too, that I've often said this, when you get into some of the smaller venues, but this is where it starts. This is the grassroots. A lot of guys will never make it past this, but you got to have that first bit of drive, and then you see guys who came so close, and they almost made it in the politics or the personalities or something got in the way, and it breaks your heart in a way, because, you know, man, he could have made it. I know he was
well,
so
that's
close.
why I love now that I've reached a point in my life where I can kind of pick my own schedule and choose my own projects. I enjoy coming to places like Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling and coming to East Carondelet, because this is the place where you see the next superstars, where you see tomorrow's superstars today. You never know when you're going to see the next Lou Thez, Buddy Rogers, Pat O'Connor, Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Jack Briscoe, Ric Flair, Bruiser Brody,
you know St. Louis really well.
all the way up to the present day. When you come to an SICW event, you're seeing guys that are in the beginning stages of what could be remarkable careers, and you never know when you're going to see the next major superstar in pro wrestling. So I always encourage the fans, especially, to support the independent grassroots organizations and your local promotions, because that's where the next pay-per-view box office attraction is going to come from. And if they don't get this feedback from the fans, then they can't develop their careers, because the fans, really, they tell you who you are. Where you can go out and you can try to perform all day long and you can try to be somebody you're not, but the fans tell you who you are. And you know that, Larry, from all these years in the industry.
It's never changed. Thank you so much, my friend, because we share a background, we share a love for this vision, we share a passion. Here we are again.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, brother.
Kerry steps into the leg snap, yanking back on the hamstring of Mike Blood.
April 12th, 1981, on Wrestling at the Chase, Kerry Von Eric collided with Mike Blood. Kerry, of course, is part of a famous family, and Blood, who's from St. Louis, became quite well known as an artist, Wayne St. Wayne, after he retired from wrestling. But on this day, in this ring, it was Mike Blood against Kerry Von Eric.
The world heavyweight champion is after Race and Flair square off. Well, Kerry Von Eric would certainly like his name included on that list, along with people like, well, Dick Murdoch. Who else would we add? And there's so many more. Ted DiBiase, Dick the Bruiser, any of the Von Eric boys. Oh, did you see that bench press by Kerry Von Eric? Guess we better include Dusty Rhodes in that list too, because I understand that Dusty Rhodes is coming to St. Louis soon. Kerry Von Eric circling, tying up. Better not forget Big John Studd. He wants his name included. Von Roschke. Front face lock by Blood. Oh, look out! Suplex by Kerry Von Eric. Oh, what a suplex by Kerry. But Blood rolls away from the elbow drop. And Blood again with the front face lock on Kerry Von Eric. Kerry and one of his brothers, David, certainly have a very important match coming up against the Kelly twins. That's certainly unique in itself. Brothers versus brothers. The Kelly twins against the Von Eric brothers, Kerry and David. Of course, you know that Pat Kelly had to step in as a substitute at last second's notice against Kerry Von Eric. He was beaten by Kerry, but he wants revenge. Both of the Kellys want revenge. They say Pat certainly wasn't prepared for the match, had no idea it was coming. He just did it as a favor to promoter Sam Muchnick, stepping in at the last second when Ox Baker wasn't there. Well, the Kelly twins can get their revenge on the Von Eric family, and you can bet they intend to do it, because together the Kelly twins are as good a tag team combination as you'll find anywhere. The Kellys against the Von Erics, brothers versus brothers, a unique match. Kerry and David Von Eric against the Kelly twins, Pat and Mike. A big challenge for both duos. And talk about unusual tag team combinations. Well, how about the one Dick the Bruiser and Bulldog Bob Brown on the same side against Bobby Jaggers and Dick Murdoch? Boy, there's a stormy combination. The Bruiser and the Bulldog together as partners. It's happened once before, and they were a good team. Oh, knee drop to the forehead by Kerry Von Eric on Mike Blood. A forearm smash to the back. A hard punch to the jaw drops Blood. I'll tell you, Kerry Von Eric's got a lot of his dad in him. He's got a sharp temper himself. If you play rough with Kerry, he'll play rough right back. Kick to the stomach by Mike Blood. Front face lock again on Kerry by Blood. Blood pitched to the ropes. Oh, drop kick by Kerry Von Eric. He caught Blood on the side. Didn't get all the way fully up to catch him in the face, but he got him in the side. And there's the iron claw. The iron claw by Kerry Von Eric on Mike Blood. Blood gets to the ropes. The iron claw that was invented by Kerry's father Fritz was used so well. It is now a major weapon for all of the Von Erichs, Kerry included. Blood quickly got to the ropes. Blood complaining about what Kerry was doing, but the claw is legal. He says he was also working on the eyes. Kerry says, no, no. Blood buying a little time, though.
Five minutes have expired, 5 minutes left.
Blood pulls Kerry Von Eric down. He has the arm and the head tied up. Kerry struggling to his feet. Mike Blood giving quite a good account of himself against Kerry Von Eric. Kerry thrown head first into that top turnbuckle. Again, Blood bounces Kerry's head off that top buckle and then a chop to the throat by Mike Blood. Blood opening up. He throws an elbow that misses. Kerry goes behind Blood. Oh, a reverse suplex. A reverse suplex tossing him from behind instead of a hip toss. Kerry tosses Blood to the ropes, catches him with a stomach claw, catches him with the stomach claw, digging in with that stomach claw. Kerry Von Eric, look at this, lifting him with the stomach claw into the air. A stomach claw in the air, and then a backdrop while applying the stomach claw. Do you believe that move by Kerry Von Eric? Blood gives up to the stomach claw, and I don't think I've ever seen a stomach claw done quite like that. You talk about power. Kerry trying to get those fingers loose to grip out of the stomach of Mike Blood. He dug into the stomach, lifted Blood into the air, and then dropped him backwards while still applying the stomach claw. Do you believe that? A victory by Kerry Von Eric. Here's Mickey.
In 5 minutes and 53 seconds with a stomach claw, the winner, Kerry Von Eric.
Let's watch again that stomach claw of Kerry Von Eric. Amazing how he's lifting a man weighing 230 pounds. He's digging in there with the stomach claw on Mike Blood, getting underneath him, still all that pressure to the stomach. Then he lifts Blood into the air while still applying the stomach claw. He probably could have gotten a submission right there from Blood, but that wasn't all. Look at that, slamming him down to the mat, digging in with the stomach claw to get a victory. Now,
Gary Jackson has a bunch of titles to his credit, and he almost got to add the Classic Wrestling Championship to the list in his struggle with Iron Man Ken Kasa. Whatever influence Travis Cook and Big Daddy had on the decision, one thing for sure, there was some sharp, smart wrestling between Kasa and Jackson. Speaking of sharp, how about Jim Carnett? He knows the business, and he's not afraid to speak up. Great guy. Mix in Kerry Von Eric, St. Louis's Mike Blood, and today was another winner for Wrestling Explosion.